Hi guys, this is Cheap Gamer City here. My real name is Mbarashi Marimo. I am from Harare, Zimbabwe. This is my first ever YouTube video tutorial. As you can see, I made this channel Cheap Gamer City about a month ago. It's still new. I haven't uploaded a ton of videos. When I first created this channel, I intended to upload videos such as gameplays, anime, reviews, etc. And I specifically chose the name Cheap Gamer City because of my computer hardware specs. As you can see, my computer is an old i5-12400 CPU at 3.10 GHz. I have 8 GB of DDR3 memory, a 500 gig mechanical hard drive, 2 of them, and an NVIDIA GTX 1060 at 3 GB. As you can see, it's not that beefy. My CPU is pretty old, DDR3 and 3 GB 1060. It does okay, I guess, in renders. So as I was saying, I made for this channel so that I can upload games or videos of me playing games that can run with better FPS on this budget computer I've got. It's not that beefy of a computer. But then, as time goes on, I started having these pop-up videos on YouTube about Blender, and I've always wanted to learn Blender and 3D modeling design, and since Blender is free, so that made me even more interested. So in my journey to learn 3D modeling with Blender, I went on Google, search Blender, boom, I found it. You can go to download, and then from the Blender website official, you can download the latest version, which is the Blender 2.92 version. I've got it downloaded and installed. After I've downloaded Blender, you install it and you open it. So I've only been using Blender for about 3 weeks now, not like using it on a daily basis. Since this is my journey to learning Blender, I hope in a year from now I'll be better at my skills and I'll be able to do more cool stuff and actually improve my more skills in particular. So after I downloaded Blender and installed it, I went over to YouTube and searched for new Blender tutorials. No, something to, as a beginner, I wanted to like follow up on certain tutorials so that I can get the hang of Blender, because when I first opened it, I was confused. So I searched for beginner-friendly Blender tutorials on YouTube, and a lot of people were recommending the Blender Guru Donut tutorial. So after I've tried to follow along that donut tutorial for about 3 hours and failing miserably, I closed up Blender for about a week and a half. Basically, out of 3 weeks I've been using Blender, a week and a half I was really mad that I failed to follow up the donut tutorial and closed Blender. But then as time passes, I came across this channel by Darky3D. This guy is amazing, guys, I'm telling you. Then I started following along his tutorials, and they were quite easy for me to follow along and see what actually results I was about bringing about this result as he was, which made me happy because I was following along. Of course, I couldn't get the exact thing he produced, but it was quite close and I learned a lot. And his tutorials, as you can see, are smaller. They're not 40-minute long, 1 hour long. Those tutorials are kind of hard to follow because of the bigger the time frame. I would rather prefer anything under 20 minutes like this guy. You can see 19.5 seconds. And if you want to learn about a few nodes, you can see his tutorials like this. My favorite node trick to add details. They are all under 5 minutes long, so you can really learn something very fast in a short period of time. So you can actually learn like 1 or 2 tricks, and then you can just try to play in Blender on your own with the default cube and see different results, I guess. And that's the learning process for me. If I want to learn something, I just invest my time and I try to come up with a design. Even though I don't know how to design, I will play in the software until I get a better feeling of what certain options brings out in that particular design. So this is an introduction to my first video ever YouTube. I'm not going to talk much about what I've learned for the past 3 weeks, but I'm also new, I'm still learning, and I've seen a quite ton amount of videos, as you can see from my playback history. All these red ones, I've watched them before. Some of them I've watched and follow along, some of them I've just watched, kind of get the hang of it, of what certain nodes do in Blender. I would about say I'm like 0.1%. Yeah, I'm just starting, guys. I'm no pro. I don't know. I'm not at that level yet. When if I just like, yeah, I got this cool idea in my head, I'm just going to open Blender and design and come out exactly like that. I'm not at that level yet. I'm just starting 3 weeks in, as I've mentioned. Half of that week, I was really pretty mad that I failed the donor tutorial. So when I came up across this channel, as you can see, I've subscribed, I've turned on the notification. I follow him a lot. His tutorials are very short and precise, and they are easy to learn. So I hope in the near future, my skills will improve, and I would like you guys to give me some support, because I'm really going to invest a whole year in learning Blender. I want to see exactly, today is the 31st of May. Exactly 31st of May 22, I'm going to make a part 2 of this video and showing you guys how far I've come with the Blender software, and basically an overview of what I've learned so far. As you can see, I don't have a BFC computer, so I'm only giving myself a time frame of 1 year to learn this software, and I am not gonna learn a lot if I waste half of that year waiting for renders to complete. So the first thing I learned was to reduce my rendering time. So I watched a couple of videos on how I can improve this render times. Blender, it really takes a lot to render even simple scenes, because my computer is not that fast. Then, for example, what I have learned that you can switch from rendering with your CPU, which is the processor, to rendering with your GPU, which is the NVIDIA graphics card I've got in my PC. And to do that, you first have to activate it in user preferences. So you go to edit, preferences, and you go to system, and you can see right here I've got a GTX 1060. So I can click the coder and I can tick this and tick my computer processor, so that when I'm rendering my scenes, I'm only using the GPU and not the CPU. You can also activate both rendering with your GPU and CPU, but my hardware is so old and my computer processor is not that powerful, so I haven't noticed much difference. I just prefer to render with my GPU instead and not my CPU. And then again, there's also this optics rendering option. So if you have, I think it works better with graphics cards from RTX 2060 going upwards. Those RTX cards from 2060 going upward to 3090, the latest ones, those work better and render much faster with this optics render or optics rendering technique in Blender. But since I've got an older version of NVIDIA, the 1060, it was released a couple years back, it's quite old, I'm stuck with CUDA. And from my previous, my graphics cards, my graphics card render a lot much for my graphics card renders a lot more faster using this CUDA. So I click CUDA and I tick my NVIDIA. Then that's not all. If you just see, GPUs are meant to handle big chunks of data. So by default, if you go down to this icon where you can find different rendering engines such as Eevee, and cycles. This one came pre-installed in Blender. See, by default, if you go to performance, as you can see, my CPU is 4 cores, 4 threads. It's detected, but CPUs work faster with smaller tiles. So by default, I think you have 32 by 32 tiles. So you can even bring this to 16 by 16 if you are rendering with your CPU, your processor, instead of your graphics card. It will be much more faster, because processors are based at rendering small chunks of data, like small, really small tiles, rather than throwing a big 256 tile pixels by 256 tile. So graphics cards works better with a higher tile size. So I've always used the 256 by 256. That's where I get the best results with my GTX 1060. So like I said, first you have to change in edit settings and choose CUDA and choose your graphics card, and then in the rendering engines there's Eevee, which is faster than Cycles. But for this Blender benchmark I've got here, I'm going to use Cycles, and I'm going to use my CPU first, and I'm going to render that and show you the results, and then second I'm going to use my GPU. So to render, you click here, render. You see, if it's an animation, you can click render animation. Then if it's an image, for example a scene, you can click render image. So I'm using the CPU to render, and as you can see, I'm using the bigger tile size. It will affect really my rendering time, because CPUs again are greater at handling smaller chunks, not these bigger chunks. So let me close up that quick. Let me bring down big tile size. Let's do 16 by 16. Let me render image. So I'm gonna pause this video and I'm gonna come back once the recording is finished, and I'm going to show you guys the time I've taken to render this with the CPU and with the GPU. We're in about 50 seconds now. So as a bonus, guys, as this is my first video ever learning, I also want you to learn with me. So every new trick I'm going to learn in the future, I'm going to share it with you guys. So please help me by liking the video and consider subscribing to my channel, because I got a feeling this is going to be really awesome, and I'm going to give you great content in the future, because I'm really going to dedicate myself to learning this software. And I really, even me, I'm kind of curious what I'm going to pull off in the next 1 year. I can't exactly picture myself like a pro in 1 year. I'm like, yeah, I've done it. I'm like a pro. I can do anything, animation, 3D, 2D in Blender. Because I don't know. As for now, I think this software is kind of hard, and it has a ton of stuff. And if you don't have a plan, if you try to like learn everything in one go, it is going to take you a really long time to achieve that. So I think I'm first going to learn, like wallpapers, abstract designs, kind of one scene, or like this render, kind of one scene render, because I don't have a powerful computer, and I've tried rendering a few animations back, and it took me like 6-7 hours just to render like 5 seconds of an animation. So my computer is really slow. And as you can see, we are way above our previous render of 2 minutes 51 seconds. I don't know, maybe it's a benchmark, so I guess I have to expect different results. Before, increasing the tile size to 256 really helped me to render faster than the smaller tile sizes. But in this case, as you can see, before we had 32 by 32, we rendered this particular scene at 2 minutes 51 seconds with the GPU. And now I've turned on adaptive sampling and increased the tile size, but for some reason I'm getting 4 minutes and we are still not done. And just to confirm that my GPU is working, and if you look at the task manager, sometimes you can see your GPU is at 18%, and as you can see, I'm usually using 1.4 gigabytes out of my 3 gigabytes of VRAM. So to confirm that my GPU is working, first you can see my CPU is not at 100%, which was before when I rendered using CPU. But if you open this GPUs, you can check, you can first, if you open it up, it will give you this page, which is details of your graphics card. You can go to sensors, and then you can, under GPU load, you can see I'm at 99-98%. So the GPU is indeed working regardless of the task manager showing me I'm only using 28%. The GPU is working now, is at 5% because it is done finishing rendering this image. And if you can see, I'm quite happy with this render. And if you want to save your renders, you can just click image, save as, then you can choose your location and say new render, and here there's a list. You can click a PNG, a JPEG, a TIFF. If you want like really high quality, I've had better results with this one, this TIFF image file. You can click RGB alpha 16 and save. The file will be really big, but so will be the quality. Or then you can also choose, let's save this one as a PNG, compression, zero compression, and save image. And if we navigate to the folder, as you can see, stuff, where are you, new render, open with Picasa. This is our newly rendered image. So thanks guys for watching. Comment, leave me tricks or sources where can I learn you. Okay, thank you guys for watching this video. Please leave a like, leave a comment, and suggestions what to learn next, where I can learn next. Really, I want you guys to really help me in this learning process, give me some tips. And I know in the future I'm going to have to upgrade my hardware so that I can make these videos faster, so that I don't have to waste like half my year waiting for renders to finish. I won't have time to learn because most of the time I'm waiting for my renders to finish. And sometimes you kind of design something, then you render it, then in the final render you kind of not satisfied with the results, so you have to re-render again. So which is a process I'm quite new to, and it sucks because I've ordered hardware. So I have to like start a render, go out and have a chat with my friends, and then come back later and the render would have been finished. So please leave a comment, subscribe, and share this video, and leave me more places in the comment section. Ask me questions, I'll answer, and I'll also ask you questions as well in the comment section. We can have a conversation. Follow me in Instagram. I will leave my Instagram details. I will post each and everything I've learned, or if I learned something, I make a video about it, and then I also post the final renders to my Instagram account, so you can follow that as well, so that you can be up to date of what I'm living at what time. Thank you guys again. This is Chief Gamer City here. Have a good day.